Hello, everybody. I would like to start off just by welcoming you all and thank you so much for joining me in this session today. To formally introduce myself, my name is Kristen Nerviello, and I'm the Customer Success Representative here at CobbleStone. So I primarily work with our current clients to expand their use of their system and help streamline their processes through the various add-on functionality that we do offer here at CobbleStone. Now, on today's session, we're going to cover our eSign options that are available to you. So first, we'll walk through CobbleStone's proprietary eSign tool, IntelliSign, and we're also certified partners with DocuSign and Adobe Sign, so we'll walk through our connectors to both of their platforms as well. First, we'll walk through IntelliSign, which, as I mentioned, is CobbleStone's proprietary tool, and we do have a few different options available to us when it comes to getting a document signed. One way is we can send out our document for a one-off signature. Internal users can also apply a quick signature using our Sign Now functionality. And we can also set up various signature processes in the system as well. So I'll be walking through all three of those today with you. And we're going to start off today on a contract record. Now you can see here that this example that we're using today is currently awaiting execution. And if we were to bounce down to our files and attachments table, I can see here that we have our sample consulting agreement that we'll be working with that's ready to be sent out for signature. Now, when I'm ready to send out a document for signature, I can come under my actions column here, and I can click on our document toolbox. Now, within our document toolbox, you can see I have the option to e-sign the document. Now, within my system, I have all of our options available to me. However, in your system, it would just be reflected whatever particular e-sign license you decided to go with. So for today, we'll start off with CobbleStone's IntelliSign, and I'll go ahead and I'll click on that, and we'll get to DocuSign and Adobe Sign in just a little bit. Now, once I click on IntelliSign, the first thing that's going to come up is I'm going to have a window pop up on the screen for my new document signature. So we can see here I have the ability to select what specific file I'm going to be sending out for signature. And in this instance, I only have one file attached to this sample contract in general. However, if I had multiple files and I needed a different one than the one I selected, I can easily pull from this drop-down menu. I can also add my title and description here if I choose to. And I want to talk a little bit about this allow sign anywhere. Now, if I were to leave this as allow, I am saying that the signer of this document can place their signature freely anywhere on the document. So it doesn't necessarily need to be lined up correctly in a specific area. It can just go wherever on the document. Now, if I didn't want that and I wanted to set specific placeholders for my signers to sign in, I can simply click Do Not Allow, and then the person that is setting up this particular signature process or one-off signature will just have to define what exactly those placeholders are on the next screen. And then finally, we have our reply to employee, which is going to be essentially the employee that's in charge of this entire signing process. So they'll receive alerts along the way when people have signed the document, when the document has been accessed, etc. So we'll go ahead and we will hit save. And this is going to bring us to our IntelliSign dashboard. And we can see here that our status is currently pending because we do need to add that signer to this particular document. But I do want to point out before we add our signer is this employees to notify area. Now we can see here that the reply to employee is going to be defaulted here in this area. However, maybe there are more employees within your organization or users of the system that do need to be notified of the status of this document as it goes through its particular life cycle. So I can simply click on this drop-down menu and pull from any of my users within the system, and I can go and add those as necessary so they will be notified as this document is being signed. Next, we have our document signers. Now, in the instance that we are using today, or the example right now, is really for that kind of one-off signature. And we really have three different ways that we can add our signer to this particular document. Our first option is for an external signer, where all we have to do is just manually type in the signer's name, email address, and if we wanted to put down a reason why they're receiving the document, maybe some steps, sign on pages 5, 7, and 10, we can easily go ahead and put that in our reason here. The second option available to you is our employee signer. Now, if you're just sending this off for a one-off signature from an employee of this or a user of the system, we can just come in here and like our reply to employee and our employees to notify, we can just click on the drop-down menu and we can pull from all of our internal employees of the system. And again, we can give a reason for them receiving this document. And with our employees, we can also make them have to use a PIN as well for some additional and added security. And finally, our third option is for the company contact signer. Now, this is going to pull from a drop-down of all company contacts within the system. And we can go in here and I'll go ahead and I'll select John Johnson for our example today. And again, we can select our reason. So we can say that just John needs to sign. And just like with our employees, we can also make our external contacts set up a PIN and use that PIN in order to sign. But I'll go ahead and we'll add John for today. And once we've added all of our signers, in this case, we're just going to send this out to John Johnson, I can come up here and I can click Start Process. We'll confirm our action. And now we can see here that our signature is currently in process, and I can also see that it is date and time stamped down to the second of when this particular document was signed out and when John Johnson was notified. Now, as that external person that is receiving this document for signature, John will receive an email letting him know that he's been invited to sign a document. So you can see an example of what that email looks like here, with the link down at the bottom to sign the document. Now, once John clicks this, he will be brought to our document collaboration gateway. And on the collaboration gateway here, you can see that we do have a pop-up to accept the terms and conditions before signing the document. And you can easily input your own terms and conditions around electronic signatures within the user interface itself. And users will have to click in order to sign. However, if that was something that you decided wasn't necessary or required for your organization, again, that is something that can be turned off within the user interface itself. Now we can see here we have an image preview of the consulting agreement, and we'll go ahead and we'll select page 3. And we can see down at the bottom here are signature lines. Now, because we did allow for sign anywhere, I can easily, as John, come in, click anywhere within the document, and I can, once again, place my signature in a couple of different ways. So I can go ahead and I can draw a signature, which works great on our mobile application. I can also input a date, add my initials, add any text, free text, I should say, or I can go ahead and type in the signature, which is what I'll go ahead and do. So we'll sign that, and John can also select the font, the size, and also the color of the signature that's being placed on the document as well. Once everything looks good, we can go and click Sign Now. And when we scroll down here, we can also see that it has the date that this document was signed as well. Once all of our signatures have been placed on the document, all John has to do is go and click on Verify and Complete, and he can verify his action. Now, the reply to employee will obviously be notified of this finalized and signed document. And also, John will receive an email with a link to access this document collaboration gateway where he can easily download this file for his records in particular. Now, if I come back to my IntelliSign dashboard and we give it a quick refresh, we can see here that the status is now completed and the signature process has been finalized. And once again, date and time stamped as to when the document was signed and finalized on. And if we were to return back to our contract details page, we'll see that finalized signed document waiting for us within the files and attachments area. So that is an example of one way that you can send out a document for signing, again with that kind of one-off signature process. Now I'd like to just kind of walk through how an internal employee can easily put their signature on a document using our quick sign method. So again, we'll go back to our document toolbox. We'll click on that, and instead of clicking on eSign document, I'll go down to the bottom of that list here and we'll click on Sign Now. Now this will look pretty similar to what we just saw on the document collaboration gateway. However, this will save our internal users a couple of clicks here. So we'll go again to that third page. And in this case, you can see that Samantha Johnson does have a saved signature. So she can come in and easily just drag and drop her signature onto the particular line item. And all that functionality that was available for John is also available in this case for this user. So you can see here that we can pull in dates. Again, we can draw a signature, insert initials, any saved signatures, text, and we can also type that signature as well. Once all of our placeholders have been added onto the document, we can go ahead and save and attach it. And then once again, that quick signed document will be waiting for us here in our files and attachments area. So that's a really great, extremely fast way for your internal users to easily apply their signature onto documents themselves. And then that brings me to our third way that we can apply signatures to our documents, which is through a signature process. Now, a signature process, if, depending on the contract type or the contract amount, maybe select and certain people need to be brought in when a contract meets specific criteria, we can easily do that within the system. So in order to do that, I'll go down to my document template that we merged onto our files and attachments area here. And then we'll click on View and Manage, which will bring me into the template itself. And we can see here under our Actions menu, if I scroll down a little bit, I do have an area for eSignatures. Now, if I were to click on my eSignature flow and groups, we can see here that my process that I have set up is fairly linear and pretty simple. So in this case, it's just going to go out to the external signer before rolling on to the internal signer for this document. However, as I said before, maybe, with your consulting agreements, your CEO signature is going to be required on all contracts over $500,000, say. Again, that's something that's easily set up within the system. You can have an unlimited amount of signer groups and an unlimited amount of rules that is assigned to each group. So that way, as long as the information is all input on the contract details page correctly, it's going to automatically pull in the appropriate parties for signing, and someone doesn't need to kind of scan through everything and send an email out to the CEO and the general counsel and let them know that their signature is required. The system's going to automatically do that for them. Now, if I were to come below that and go to my eSignature processing and click on that, we can go ahead and start our signature process. And now once we're kind of in here, again, a lot of this is going to look similar to when we were doing our one-off signing. So again, we can add our title and description, but here we also have the signature type as well. Now, is this going to be a signing process with electronic signatures, or is it a requirement within your organizations where all of your signatures are happening with wet and paper signatures? We can easily do either of those. Then we have that allow sign anywhere as well here. So once again, we can set up those placeholders if we chose to, or if we wanted to allow for free signing, we can also just leave that as allow. We have our reply to employee as well as the auto attach type here. Now, when these documents are being attached back into Contract Insight, are they being attached within separate attachments or within one single PDF? So once all that information is correct, we'll go ahead and hit save. And this is going to bring us to our signature process dashboard. Now we can see here we're not quite ready to start the process yet. And the reason for that is all we have to do is just select the file that is going to be sent out for signature. And then we can go ahead and attach that to the signing process. Once that document's been attached, we're now ready to start the signing process. So we can go ahead and verify that action. And as I said before, in this case, it's going out to our external signer first, followed by our internal signer once the external party has signed. And if we were to click on the little caret in our signature groups here, I can see that this is in process with our external signer. I can also see who the specific person is that is signing externally. And if I needed to resend this invitation out to them, I can easily do that with my resend button here. Now, as that external party, John Johnson, again, he does receive that email inviting him to the signature process. So let me just open that up here. So again, looks very similar. We'll click on the bottom to go ahead and sign our documents, bringing us to our document collaboration gateway. Once again, we can accept those terms and conditions. And once again, we can go to that third page of our document. Now John can come in here, he can place his signature. Let's say for this example, we'll go ahead, we'll draw our signature, and we'll go ahead and hit sign now. And again, John can go ahead and go through the entire document and place as many placeholders as required, but we can go ahead and verify and complete. And now, because we have this signing process set up, we can now see that no more actions are required in John's case, but now the system is automatically going to alert the internal signer, letting them know that it is now their turn to sign the document. And if I were to refresh our signature process dashboard, we can see here that our external signature has been approved. Once again, date and timestamp down to the second of when that signature was placed on the document. And it's now with our internal signer. So again, our internal signer is going to come into their email, open up that message, click on Sign Documents, and they are able to place their signature on the document now as well. So as I said before, a nice kind of slightly more automated process. You don't have to send an email out manually to somebody. The system is taking care of all of that for you. So we can go in here. Samantha Johnson can come in, drop her saved signature. And once that's placed, once again, we can come in and verify and complete. And now that that's been verified and completed, that ends the signing process. So once again, if we come back in here and we were to refresh our signature dashboard, we can see that both parties have approved this particular document. So this process has been completed. And once again, when we return to our record details, and we come down to our files and attachments area, we will see that that signed document from our signing process has now been uploaded into our files and attachments area. So we can see in this example, we have a signed document for each of the three ways that we walked through today. So we have our one-off signature that we have our quick eSign document for internal employees, and then we also have that signed document through a signature process. And that's just some of the functionality that's available to you with CobbleStone's IntelliSign tool. And now I want to walk through our third-party eSign connectors with DocuSign and Adobe Sign. Now, before we hop into that, in order to take advantage of either or of these connectors, you do need to have an existing license with either DocuSign or Adobe Sign. We simply provide the connector from Contract Insight to that platform. And essentially, these connectors allow you to send a document out for signing via that third-party connector from Contract Insight. And then once that document is signed, it's going to be routed back and attached to the record that it was sent from within Contract Insight itself. So it does allow for a very seamless signing experience between the third-party connector and with CobbleStone. So again, we'll come in here to our original document that we've been working with, and we can come in and once again click on our document toolbox. And then again, we can come in and hit eSign document. And in this instance, we'll walk through DocuSign first. Now, in the case of DocuSign, the first thing it's going to ask us to do is to create the envelope that's being sent out for signature. Now, you can see here that it's going to once again default to the document that you chose within the files and attachments area. However, if there were other documents that needed to be attached to this envelope for signing, you can easily go ahead and select those using the check boxes on the left-hand side. And then once all of our documents have been selected, we'll move on to our recipients. Now, once again, with our recipients, there are 3 different options that are available to you. Once again, you could just manually come in here and add the recipient's name and email address. You can also add an employee and select from your internal employee list here. Or the final option, you can also come in and add a contact, which is going to pull from your company contacts that are associated with the counterparty or vendor on this particular contract. So once again, we'll go ahead and select John Johnson, and we will hit OK. And then we can also assign a particular action for each of our recipients of this envelope. So whether they need to sign, receive a copy, or need to view, we can easily assign that action, as well as the particular order that this needs to be signed in. So again, we can assign an order, or if everybody can sign, in any order that is required, or any order that they need to, whoever gets to it first, we can keep these as 0 and it'll send them all out at once. Below that, you can see we have our notification settings, so we can set to send out reminders for this particular envelope. We can also set an expiration for it as well. And below that, we can easily configure the message that these recipients are receiving. So we can go ahead, edit our subject, edit our message. I'll leave them as is for today, but you do have the option to customize them if necessary, excuse me. So then we'll come into signing. We'll get a pop-up that lets us know that we are going to be redirected to the DocuSign website to complete this process. Now, if you're someone that's using DocuSign frequently, I'm sure this next screen is going to look very familiar to you, but it's going to bring us over to DocuSign in order for us to select our placeholders for this particular document that we're sending out. So we can see here that we have John Johnson as the signer up at the top left-hand side. If there were more signers to this particular record, all we would have to do is select who we were setting placeholders for from this drop-down menu here. But once again, we'll scroll down to that 3rd page, and we can select any of our placeholders and fields on here on the left-hand side as well. So we'll go ahead and we will drop in our signature placeholder, and we can repeat that process as necessary for as many placeholders as was required for the document. Once all those placeholders have been set, we can go ahead and simply click send, which is going to send this document out to John Johnson in this example. And then we can see here we're going to be redirected back to Contract Insight once this has sent out. So we can see here we're brought to the external eSign Manage page within Contract Insight. And again, we can see that it's been sent out. Who it's been sent out to, again, gives us some options to either, delete the recipient, resend the envelope out, and again, date and time stamped. Now, John will receive an email from DocuSign letting him know that, again, he has a document ready to be signed. All he has to do is click on Review, and this will bring him to that DocuSign portal. So we can go ahead, we can accept DocuSign's terms and conditions, and then we can be brought directly to our signature block. So on DocuSign, once again, we can either adapt their signature or we can go ahead and draw one of our own. I'll go ahead and we will leave it as our prompted signature here. And we can go ahead and once all of our signatures have been placed, we can go ahead and finish. Now with our DocuSign connector, it does run on a 15-minute scheduler. So every 15 minutes, Contract Insight will call out to DocuSign to see if there's any new documents that need to be brought in from DocuSign to Contract Insight. Now, I'm not going to sit here and make everybody wait for another 15 minutes, so I'll just go ahead and I will force a refresh. And if your signers are, signing documents within a few minutes, like we just kind of walked through here, and you don't want the auto import to occur, you can see here you do have the option to select how this particular document is being imported back within on the files and attachments area. So I'll go ahead, we'll combine all the documents as one single document, and we'll hit OK. And we'll receive a message up here at the top letting us know that the document has been successfully attached to this particular record. And if we were to return back to the contract, and once again we pop down to our files and attachments, we can see that now that signed DocuSign document is now waiting for us in the files and attachments area. So in terms of the DocuSign connector, like I said, it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. As long as you have an existing license with DocuSign, you are able to utilize that integration, that third-party connector. And then we'll come back down once again to our document that we've been working on, that clean document that we initially imported. And we can go ahead and walk through Adobe Sign. So similarly to what we've been doing for most of our other options, we'll click on that eSign document and select Adobe Sign. And similarly to DocuSign, once again, we're going to be asked to select what particular documents are being sent out for signing. So again, we're just going to stick with this original consulting agreement. However, we could easily just select any other documents that were being attached and sent out for signing. Then once we go to our next screen, once again, we'll be able to insert our recipients here. So we can go in and I will just input my own email address. We'll just use John Johnson once again, just for seamlessness. And again, we can add the role for this particular signer as well. So are they a signer or an approver? And we have the ability to place a signing order here as well. So now we've added John Johnson. Once again, we can edit our title, put in a more customized message for our particular signers before we go ahead and click Submit, which is going to upload this document to Adobe Sign. So we'll go ahead and we'll complete that action to be sent over to Adobe Sign. And again, similar to DocuSign, if you're someone that's using Adobe Sign quite frequently, again, this should all look pretty familiar to you. So we have that preview image of the document, and we have our signature fields on the right-hand side. Once again, we can come in, we can drag in our signature block, and any of the other placeholders that are required that we did need to drag and drop from Adobe Sign. And once they're all placed, once again, we can go ahead and click Send. We get the confirmation that this has been successfully sent out for signature. And then John Johnson will receive that email letting him know that this has been sent out for signing. So we can see here, once again, that review and sign. And once we click that, we can be brought to the Adobe Sign portal. And we can place our signature as needed. So we'll go ahead, we'll type in John Johnson, apply that to our document, and finalize by clicking to sign. Now we can see here that we're all set. And then we can come back into the document. Once again, similarly to DocuSign, it's going to run on that 15-minute scheduler. And most likely in a real life scenario, you're not going to be getting signatures back in a couple of minutes. So you can easily just come into the external eSign manager for this document, click on the Adobe, and then once again, we can select how we want it imported or attached to our contract record. And obviously, if we wanted it to kind of just run on that scheduler, we can easily kind of just do nothing and wait for it to be attached to the contract itself. And then once again, we get our message that the documents have been attached, and we can return back to our contract here. Once again, if we scroll down to our files and attachments area, we can now see that that Adobe Sign signed example consulting agreement is now attached to the contract itself. And once again, as I said, for the Adobe Sign connector, pretty straightforward. If you're familiar with either the DocuSign or the Adobe Sign platforms, I'm sure you are familiar with kind of what we just walked through. It's just kind of a matter of sending that document directly from Contract Insight out through that third-party eSign connector to then be attached back to the record itself. So it does just kind of allow, like I said, for a more seamless signing experience between that third-party eSign connector and CobbleStone itself. And that kind of wraps up everything that I wanted to show regarding our eSign options here. So kind of just to recap here, once again, we walked through CobbleStone's proprietary eSign tool, which was IntelliSign, which gave us the option to send out a document for that one-off signature for internal employees to do that quick, easy sign now functionality, and then also set up a signing process within our system. And then we also walked through that DocuSign and Adobe Sign connector functionality as well. Again, thank you all so much for your time today. I very much appreciate it, and I hope you found this session helpful. And I am happy to answer any questions that you may have. But once again, thank you all so much for your time, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.